Excellent. Morning, welcome to Something Saturday. So, if you are anything like me, watercolouring is a heck of a challenge. And usually I end up with this sort of like muddy looking mess, and it goes in the bin, to be perfectly honest. So I was really chuffed when I created this, and I thought, you know what, I reckon other people would enjoy knowing how to do this too. So we are going to do it. First of all, you need something that you can tape your watercolour paper down into. So I'm using this stuff, which is Fluid 100 watercolour paper, Stampin' Up! Sell it. So that's why I use it, because I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, you know, that sort of thing. And you'll need a bit of washi tape, possibly glasses too if you wear them. Okay, now everything is in focus. Excellent. So what you need to do is you need to tape this down. If you can do it so it's nice and even, then you'll actually end up with a nice border around the edge as well. And that looks good. Just make sure you press that down nicely, because I have discovered in my attempts to do this that if you don't press it down really well, it kind of lifts up, and then the paint and the water go underneath it, and ooh, everything doesn't go quite so well as you had hoped, or at least that I'd hoped anyway. So there we go. We have now got our piece of watercolour paper all taped in there. Next thing you need is a spray bottle of water. So this is no longer Stamping Mist. I did cross it out, but it's gradually wearing off, and it did have water written underneath it, and that's also gradually wearing off. And you'll also need a paintbrush with water in it. So in this case, I'm using, funnily enough, some of Stampin' Up! Stuff, the water painters. So I've used the middle water painter. There's actually 3 in the pack. So you get a big one like this, which apparently is really good for doing washes. If you're any good at actually doing watercolouring, then potentially you might be able to use it for that. There's also a small one like this, which is very dinky. And then there's a middle one, which is the one that I'm going to be using today. You'll also need some tissues. Trust me on the tissues. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to spray this completely down with water until it is absolutely soaking wet. So it's nice and shiny looking. It is soaking wet. Oh, and I should have done this first. So I'm also going to put some drops of ink out. So I'm going to be leaving my inks right in front of where the drop is, because that way I know what I've got. Rather than going randomly, oh, I wonder what colour this one is. So go there, bit of green. Oh goodness, a lot of green. Wowzers. Bit of blue. And so these are my re-inkers for my brights colours. There's a bit of blue. So we've got a bit of Pacific Point at the end there. Oh, so far so good. Don't have much on my fingers. All right, let's just give it a bit more of a spray. Just bear in mind that this watercolour paper can take as much water as you throw at it. It's amazing stuff. So you also want to have one of these that you can press your and you see how it's the water actually just sort of like pulls out of it. So then what we want to do is just add some of those, and then clean your brush off. Hopefully you can see me cleaning my brush off there, and give it another squeeze, because we're going to pick up some of this colour next. Ooh. And clean my brush off, pick up a bit of this one next and squeeze that on. Ooh. And then squeeze it again, grab a bit of green. Let's add some green to this mixture. Then a bit of blue. And lastly a bit of Pacific Point. So it's kind of quite pretty at the moment, but of course it's not dry. So then you want your heat tool, and bearing in mind that my craft room slopes downhill, so we're on sort of an angle towards me, so that's why it's all pooling down in the corner here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start drying this off, and then if you push some of this back in this direction, you can actually get it to give you like a line. So do you see how a line is forming here? Oh, and apparently it's going to suddenly take off. So because I've got it on a tray, it doesn't actually matter if it does this, but I might just do that and sop up some of these drips. But I'm really loving the fact that I can get these weird looking lines going on it as well. So you can see here as I'm doing it that the line is just drying into place. And I might see whether I can just add a little bit more of a line in there. And it really is a case of just experimenting with it. I'm just going to see if I can dry a little bit more ink onto here. But you can see how I'm just working on this little line here, and there's one going on down here as well, and then I'll just let it dry off, and that gives you that little circle there. I'll just wait for this little piece to dry as well. So I kind of, it's starting to lift off a little bit, so I'm just going to stick that back down again. So if you want a few more of these sort of lines in there, oh, looks like all my colours are blended up together. What I'll do is just spray a little bit more in here, and maybe see whether I can't add a little bit more into there, and see how I go with drying out these ones to create some lines as well. So what you can do is you can also move your tray around as you do it, so that you can gain some extra lines in there. And you really can just keep going until you're happy with what you've created there. So in this instance, I might add just a wee bit more into this corner because I don't feel like it's actually gone right to the corner. Although, you know, I haven't got my tape on there straight anyway, so we might just leave it at that. And then when you peel it off, you can peel off the washi tape. And clean off your tray. Give that a bit more of a clean off. And just make sure that your work is dry. And how cool is that? Two completely different colours, and all I've done is just changed. So with this one I used the Mango Melody, what else was I using? Flirty Flamingo. I think I had Bermuda Bay in it. Oh, and that's the other one that I was using. So I was using 5 colours in this one. So that's the 5 colours I used in this one. And then you just saw the ones that I used in this one. So I had my Mango Melody, I had my Gorgeous Grape. I didn't have that colour. I did have some of the Melon Mambo, I think. Ooh, now I'm not sure. But I definitely had these two as well. So, yeah, just thought I would show you what a difference you can make just by doing that. And how cool does it look? So I'm going to do up a blog post on this, but I'm not actually going to finish these off as cards until next week. So you'll have to come back and see what I do with them next week. Thanks for joining me, and do share the love, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Oh, really?